Hi, I'm Jim Smith. This is the 1000. This is FLQ Part 2. There's no documentation what I'm talking about now, so this is my personal hypothesis of what happened. But it appears that there was a desire to believe, and I think I have to put that there were other organizations in Canada that were organized and planning to overthrow the government. And it's so hard to actually even say those words nowadays because they seem so incredibly unbelievable that you do have to take my word that at the time and in the place there was genuine turmoil going on. So we have to, you have to take my word for that, and I encourage you to read up on that stuff. The English book on that that I showed in the last episode is actually pretty good. On that thing. There's lots of work on the FLQ crisis from many different points of view, and the general consensus is now is Trudeau overreacted, although English in this book actually defends the actions. I don't think it was necessary under any stretch of the imagination, and these people were clowns. I mean, if you look at the actual history of actual revolutionaries, military people like Castro and Guevara, who has kind of suffered a massive loss in reputation in the last few years. But these are pretty efficient, tough sort of guys that lived out in the middle of nowhere and made their way through the world. That wasn't happening with these guys. They were city people. They were not terribly dangerous. Now, they did kill some people. They killed a bank guard. They killed, I believe they killed a gun shop owner or employee while stealing some fowls. They were annoying, but the police should have been able to deal with them. And I find it incredibly ironic that in the early days of the Harper government, the Liberal Party actually created an ad that said, the Conservatives are going to put soldiers in the street, boots on the ground, the army in our cities. And the weird thing was, what they were talking about was exactly what Pierre Elliott Trudeau, the saint of the Liberals, did in Quebec in the FLQ crisis in 1970. So it's interesting how these things change. We've never seen a Conservative government make any effort to do anything like that at all. And we'd better not, quite frankly, because it was a very frightening moment. But one of the things that we have to look at is what were these groups of people? Well, one group of people who I happen to know, I know most of the people who are involved in the Western Liberation Front, and they're a bunch of gun collectors. They were, to my certain knowledge, highly patriotic, highly proud of their service. Most of them were ex-military, proud of their service to their country and proud of their country. And for those people to be maligned and behind their back, this was a star chamber sort of thing. If you ever want to read what it was really like, I've got a book for you. Look up Franz Kafka and read the book called The Trial. It's about a man that's being on trial for a crime and he doesn't know what the crime is. This is what we saw during those days. It's very, very strange and very, very difficult to explain. And I've had a heck of a time with this episode to try to put a very complex situation into what is even vaguely meaningful. And I'm actually quite curious how this turns out when I get to see the videos, because it was a very confusing time. So I'm not going to do any more on this right now. I will probably come back to this issue later on once I've seen what the rushes of what we've done and we decide where we're going to go with this thing. But I encourage you as an informed Canadian, even if you just go to Wikipedia, look up the FLQ crisis. If you can find a book, there are newspaper clippings books. I've got one of those from the Globe and Mail. Make your hair stand on end. From the period. There's a lot you can learn. Or you can get English's book and read about the period. Or I'm sure it's got to be big in Canadian history. I'm not a huge fan of Pierre Trudeau, so I don't read a huge amount out of that time. But it shows how we can be attacked by malicious slander and rumor behind our backs, and we don't even find out what it is, so we cannot defend ourselves. And that is an extremely poor thing to do in a democratic society. Well, that's today's little talk. Thanks for dropping by. I hope you'll subscribe to our channel, share it with your friends, and if you can support us, if you can see your way clear to support our project, to support our history, please feel free to do so. We exist totally on your support.